Hello everyone, and welcome to the second series of today. We are going to Division B West between Macro Machines and Magnitude Aftershock. Now I'm going to go a little bit fast because it seems like the teams are already starting the ready check, but looking over at the standings, these are the two bottom teams in the standings, but there's also a pretty big jump between 14 points for Magnitude Aftershock and the 2 for Macro Machines. Now, I believe if I check the rankings, I believe Macro Machines are already going to be out of playoffs. I don't think they're able to catch back up. They will need at least 3 dominations to be able to get there. But map picks are already done, but I'll talk about those once you get in because we are heading into draft right away. But Magnitude Aftershock did take the map pick. They're going to ban away Sky Temple and Alterac Pass, while Macro Machines are going to ban out Dragonshire and Infernal Shrines. And the first map is, as you can see, the Towers of Doom. Now, Towers of Doom, fun map. We all love it. We've seen quite a few series here in this last week, and quite a few game 3s here as well. But it's going to be a bit different this time around. It is going to be in that game number 1. So now the first pick, I should mention, Macro Machines, they are the home team. They selected first pick. Magnitude Aftershock got a map pick. I did kind of say that a confusing way earlier, but just for clarification. But Macro Machines, they're going to start the bans, and they're going to remove the Maiev first thing. Obviously, Maiev really annoying to play into, provides a lot of control, and kind of changes the dynamic of the game entirely. It gives a very different angle of engage to the other team. It opens up so much play that otherwise would be impossible. So I'm not surprised to see that get removed. Magnitude Aftershock gonna ban out the Blaze. Now this is Towers of Doom, so being able to double soak is pretty important. Most teams will elect to do a 1-0-4 composition where the one offlane are going to be rotating between the 2 lanes. A Blaze is one of the better ones. Dahaka banned now by Magnitude Aftershock as well. Going to be the other really good double soaker, at least from the main meta. There's still a few like Leoric that are available. Zeratul, not super meta, but it's really good at it. And the Vikings especially good at it, though they're not really meta. Or though not every team can play it, I should say. They're very difficult, but one ban I didn't mention, Macro Machines will also be banning away the Chromie. Lots of poke damage in the really at all points of the game. But that does mean that Stukov going to be the first pick for Seralith. Going to have that available to them. And Varian is available if they want to do the Varian Stukov combo, but Magnitude Aftershock immediately going to lock in the Tychus Diablo. So they're going to lock in the Diablo for Wraithling, and the counter to the Diablo, the Tychus or Amy A20. And you can't pick a counter if the other team's already picked it. And this should give them some pretty good options when it comes to engage. Obviously, Diablo is really good at engaging. It can peel a little bit, but not quite as well, and provides a lot of damage. But now Leoric going to get locked in for Hoku, but Zeratul also going to get locked in for Arcane 13th. But that does mean the Variant going to get banned out by Magnitude Aftershock. But it is interesting that they do lock in both Leoric and Zeratul. Zeratul is one of the best double soakers in the game. But it does seem like with the Leoric already in the game, most likely it's going to be that 4-core Zeratul just trying to deal some damage. And Zeratul does scale super well into the late game, makes it really difficult to play with some of the members. Or makes it really difficult to position on some of the carries. And Tychus especially is very vulnerable to Zeratul later on. But Brightwing going to be the final ban coming out of Macro Machines. Now, Magnitude Aftershock, they still need to pick their offlaner, still need to pick their healer, and then they have a flex, which can go really either way. And as for healers, there's still quite a few available in the pool. Stukov was picked and Brightwing was banned, but other than that, hasn't been touched. But they're saving their healer for the 10th pick, and it's going to be Tazadar for Punk, which is pretty standard, but Zul for Captain Roberts. Now, Zul's one of those offlaners I didn't mention, but is also extremely good at double soaking, has one of the fastest wave clear speeds of any offlaner in the game. But it is a little bit difficult to play in those team fights. Has one form of crowd control that's very telegraphed, because it does take a while, and it is point and click, so at least there is that going for it. But with a proper cleanse, it would be really easy to dodge out of it. But with Stukov locked in for Macro Machines, they're not going to have a cleanse this time around. As Muradin locked in for Dark Knight, and Hanzo for I'm a Burb. And the final pick going to be the Tyrande for Diet Llama. Overall, both these two teams have pretty interesting team compositions. Now, what does worry me for Magnitude Aftershock is if Arcane 13th is able to scale up, is going to be super powerful into the Tychus, into the Tacitore, into the Tyrande. Should be able to get on the backlane, deal a ton of damage. And if the rest of the team's on top of it, could definitely win the fights. But that does require scaling. That does require getting to that late game. But before that happens, let's get the game started with game number 1. All right, and we are loading into Towers of Doom. Game number 1 between Macro Machines and Magnitude Aftershock. Now for Magnitude Aftershock especially, these games really matter. They're still competitive in the playoffs. They could try and get one of those top 2 seeds, though. I believe that's also very difficult, if potentially mathematically impossible to get. But if they're able to... If they're able to get up there, if they're able to get those wins for themselves, it'll put them in a really good spot and potentially give them that bye in that first round of playoffs. Now both sides have spawned in, and this is Towers of Doom. So like I said, Arcane 13th will need to scale. Zeratul isn't super powerful early on. However, Towers of Doom is one of those maps that's pretty slow. You're able to win it very quickly if you snowball hard, but that requires having a lot of push on the team. And I don't think Magnitude Aftershock quite have that. That's typically only done with the Sylvanas, with stuff like that as a Sendel. I'm gonna slam on Arcane 13th. The little hearts do come out. Is Wraithen gonna Firestomp to scout out Dark Knight. But neither of these two teams really playing too far forward. They're just going to get started on the waves. And out of the talents that at least I know of, so those are the ones I'm going to talk about, it is going to be the Shock Ray build coming out of Punk, at least for level 1. But now they have the jump on Arcane 13th, but will be able to just dash away. And it will be the standard scatter shot build coming out of the Hanzo, out of I'm a Burb, as they get 2 stacks right there. That's going to help them quite a bit. Because now I'm a Burb and Seralith going to be shoving out this mid lane. Arcane 13th with Dark Knight here in the back line as well. Arcane 13th going to get taken down at half HP. They have a lot of poke, and with a grenade to follow as well from Amy, going to get quite a bit of DPS done there as they move over immediately to their Sapper camp. And they're going to be able to clear this pretty quickly. Between the overkill from Amy and the Psionic Storm from Punk, they have a lot of AoE damage, and they just have a lot of damage overall. Now, they are losing a wave to the towers right now, and that's actually quite a bit of missed soak. But if they're able to get a fight here, Dark Knight going to get stunned up and will be able to jump away in time, and the siege camp will still go over to Macro Machines. But overall, I think that play is kind of a win for Macro Machines. They will need to defend against the Sapper camp. They will need to be able to walk forward here. But they have their own Sapper camp to kind of help them with that pressure. I'm a Burb just slowly but surely throwing out the arrows, trying to get a little bit of damage on there. Already 9 stacks, by the way, on that scatter shot. Has the Lurking Arm buying a lot of space over the back line. But Arcane 13th currently in the mid lane. So it is 3v4 here in the bot lane. But Macro Machines have already taken out all the Sappers. So even if this wave does crash, it's not going to be able to get too much value, but level 4 talents are up there as Wraithen goes in, not going to be able to stun them into the wall. And they have the Stormbolt onto Punk, but again, 3v4, how hard to get any kind of advantage. But what they were able to do with Arcane 13th in the mid lane, Hoku was able to push in the top side. Lots of XP missed. Some of those turned into the smaller globes. And half a level advantage now for Macro Machines, just as their name says, through the macro. Now Arcane 13th is going to join up here with this bot lane. The altars are going to be spawning in about 20 seconds. As Punk going to be going to the mid lane themselves to clear out this wave and to try and get some of that soak back for their team. And now 25 stacks on the shock rate, 9 stacks on the simple geometry as Dieth Llama walking up, not going to get stunned. The stun's actually going to land on the Punk, but Arcane 13th going to be able to take down Dieth Llama. That's first blood going over to Macro Machines. Now they're aiming towards Wraithling, aiming towards Punk. But they're not going to be able to get anyone else, but that's still going to be first blood and the altar going their way. So it will be that 36-32 scoreline now onto that core HP. And that's exactly what I was talking about with that Zeratul. Able to deal quite a bit of burst damage. And there's a lot of squishes on the backline. Punk are going to be very squishy later on as Arcane 13th looking for that angle, but they're able to spot them out. And again, Dieth Llama also not going to have a lot of HP. So if Arcane 13th has that flank, has that strong position, and even just a little bit of damage over it, that's enough to burst someone down entirely as Amy takes a lot of scatter shots there. And I'm a Burb already at 16 stacks. Soon we'll have those 2 extra arrows. And that will help increase the damage quite a bit, especially with those perfect placements. Now level 7 talent advantage currently still up for Macro Machines as they are going to clear away their sapper camp. Thanks to Aftershock, gonna work on their own. And neither side really going to be contesting onto it, so it will just be that clean trade of sappers. But now will either of them be able to get them pushed in? That's the real question. But now Punk has reset. So it is, at least for a little while, 3v3 on the map. As Arcane 13th we see on the minimap is in that mid lane. But it looks like they are putting more focus on the mid lane from the side of Macro Machines. Dark Knight was looking for a play there as well. And Arcane 13th is in the back line. Finds Dieth Llama, but not going to go in. And I admire that patience, because I 100% would have pulled the trigger and 100% would have died there. But Dark Knight looking towards Punk, and Punk starting to get a little bit low, but not going to be able to have enough damage. Lurking Arm taking Wraithling down to half HP, actually. That's pretty significant damage. As the healing will be coming out. I always forget, is it symbiotic healing? The healing pathogen. What was I thinking about? Whatever. But now the altar is up. They're getting started on it. Hoku gonna be able to get the drain home into the back lane. Arcane 13th just spinning on a Punk. And Punk in a bad spot. Arcane 13th and Hoku jumping on top. And with the Wraith Walk, not going to be able to get there. Now the team fight starting to happen on both ends. They're looking over in this bot lane as well. Dark Knight starting to get low. Lands the Stormbolt as Punk does go down in the mid lane during this. But Wraithing getting low, but the healing from Dieth Llama is there. But the final smack from Hoku will be there. And Dieth Llama nowhere to go. Will get finished off. Amy, the next and potentially final target, not going to be found. But that's a 3-0 for Macro Machines. They're going to be able to take the altar. They're going to be able to take the team fight. And their lead is growing. They have a full level advantage, about to hit their heroics. And there they do. There they come out. And now 4-0 in the kill score. And like I said, they are going to be... Oops. I always forget. I always hate when I do this. But they will be able to get this kill. How do I get rid of this again? Okay, there we go. I think that's it. But now Dark Knight going to be able to land the stun onto Wraithling, and that's all they're going to be able to accomplish too much. How did I do this? Okay, whatever. I guess we're going to be seeing things from Hoku's perspective for the next little while. I'll try and remember. But Captain Roberts is in the mid lane, going to get caught out by Dark Knight. And really the entire squad of Macro Machines. But the team fight's still happening over in the mid lane. Looking for Seraph. Going to get hit by the Lunar Flare as well. But look at that time trap. The Void Prison just landing on all 4. And the Dragon Arrow over top. But again, none of the team members are there. They're not going to be able to commit onto this fight. But that was a huge save. They could have been in a very bad spot. And technically that was all members caught in that, as the Zul was currently dead in the base. But now the overpower lands on a Dark Knight. Could look for the fight. They have the stun as well. Yeah, if anyone remembers how to cancel this, by the way, in chat, please let me know. But now they're still looking for the fight. Dark Knight gonna get stunned up. The extendo arm will push Arcane 13th into the back lane. Arcane 13th will be the first to go down. But now Amy and Punk could be in a bad spot. The Entomb lands onto the backline, but Hoku is alone, will be forced to walk out. And the Saber Camp will land as well.
The altars in my name.
Your time is ending, Raven Lord.
I don't even remember. But yeah, right now, Amy and Wraithen going to be pushing out into this mid lane. They're going to get the stun onto Dark Knight. Dark Knight going to be in a bad spot, but the lurking arm in the back line, keeping Dark Knight a little bit safer. But now Saralith going to get jumped a little bit. Dragon Arrow going to go wide, but Dark Knight still looking forward. Punk might be a little bit too far out, but the black hole will separate the follow-up as Punk able to self-peel. Arcane 13th is going to be in a little bit of a bad spot as well. But overall, we'll be able to make it out. And again, these fights are so close. But neither side is really able to come out on top. As a 1 sec. Okay, I need to check the hotkeys because I can't even see what these things are.
Choose a talent.
Your service will be rewarded.
Because I did turn on the... oh, I can't even find it. Is it Observer? Yeah, there we go.
And now kill with conviction.
I did miss a kill, but there we go. I believe we have now found it. We can now see everything on the map. There we go. Yeah, I really apologize for that, but there's a lot of hotkeys on the Observer mode. Haven't really figured out all of them, but there we go. Now we can actually see both teams, but Arcane 13th going to be able to clean out the bot lane as Magnitude Aftershock. They're going to start roaming up to this top side. And level 13 talents are up for both teams, but it is 6-1 in terms of kills for Macro Machines here. Now the altars are going to be spawning, and both are going to be on the top side, but the talents are even. Macro Machines, they will be able to take theirs for sure, but they are in a position to try and contest Arcane 13th, looking for Dice Llama, but not going to be able to find the angle. They have the body blocks coming in from Magnitude Aftershock. And from there, they'll be able to defend. Now, it is 4 damage for 4 damage, 28 to 24. So there was another altar going the way of Magnitude Aftershock doing that, but now they're looking for Captain Roberts again, but Arcane 13th not going to be able to land the dash. Will be able to jump back in, but not enough damage there. But they know there's 2 members top, so Magnitude Aftershock, they're looking for the invade. They have the Shadow Charge on I'm a Bird, but instead they're aiming towards Saralith, and with that much damage, Lightning Breath with the black hole. That's going to be a 2-for-0. Dark Knight, the last survivor, still trying to get away. And the Shock Ray lands from Punk. Make that a 3-for-0. So big win for them. Now Diet Llama does get jumped upon, but Arcane 13th not going to swap in. And with the Commandeer Odin, they will be able to absolutely trash onto this bot lane bell tower. And Magnitude Aftershock, they're starting to come back. They're coming back in a pretty big way. Only down 4 damage, but being up overall here on the map control, that's definitely important. But Arcane 13th with the Void Prison able to get a spot as Hoku walking in with the Raid Walk. Or Wraith Walk, they're looking for Captain Robertson with the Entomb, able to split them up a little bit. And just a little bit of damage going through. And Arcane 13th starting at low, but Hoku with a big club going to be able to get that kill back. But in the meanwhile, Magnitude Aftershock, they're able to get so much value in this mid lane. They're going to take down the entire wall. Now, I'm Bourbon Saralith trying to push back this bot lane, trying to retake onto this bell tower, but Saralith might be a bit too far up. They have the overpower. Saralith going to dodge out on one of the stuns, but will still go down. As Magnitude Aftershock, with those quick rotations, able to get some pickoffs. Arcane 13th just getting a little bit of poke onto Punk, but with Diet Llama around and with really the entire squad of Magnitude Aftershock ready to deal with it, not going to be able to accomplish too much, but it is going to be 2-for-1 in terms of altars. However, even with that, it's going to be 6-5 damage. So only slightly ahead for Macro Machines, but when you're down to Bell Tower, coming out on top for one of those trades, that on its own is really big. Now the Siege Camp going to get cleared by Magnitude Aftershock, and they're going to have the Sappers pushing into the bot side. This next one doesn't spawn for 50 more seconds, but I'm a Burb could be in a bad spot. Wraithing and Amy, they're showing, and Alma Burb gonna get caught, gonna get found, and that's going to be another big kill for Magnitude Aftershock. They're just not letting anyone approach this bell tower. They're making sure that they're keeping it locked down, and they're keeping all 5 on their side. Now Arcane 13th is here on the side, but what is difficult is that there is nothing they can really do about it. Now, the Firestomp is going to be able to scout out Arcane 13th. They did see it, as the Sapper Camp is going to walk forward, and they're looking for Saralith, and will be able to get it. Now, the Void Prison is there onto by Arcane 13th, but they're not going to be able to trade too much. But RK13th will get some damage with the spins coming in for a second volley. But the lightning breath over top. RK13th will be able to survive. Literally 19 HP. And the Psionic Storm not going to be in range either. But those sappers did land. Only 3 more health on the side of Macro Machines now. With their core, 21 to 18. Dark Knight will find Captain Roberts. Will be able to burn them off of the mount, but not going to be able to accomplish anything else afterwards. As Captain Roberts will be able to just back away safely. And now the Sapper Camp is pushing in this bot lane. So another 3 damage well on its way. And the question is, what can Macro Machines do to try and come back into this game? They had the early lead, but just a couple of bad team fights in Magnitude Aftershock, they were able to take the lead. They're going to be able to take control of the map. Now both ultras are towards the bot side. The team fight could be coming through. Hoku looking forward, not going to be able to land the Drain Hope as Amy's minigun just dealing so much damage to Hoku. As Dieth Llama going to be able to take the first one. They have the spin over into the back line. But now the second altar is going to be spawning here. Both sides could still fight, but both sides missing a few heroics. Dieth Llama is getting started on the channel. Dark Knight going to move forward. They have the Entomb, but it is on to Wraithling. And Lightning Breath over top and so much damage onto everyone. They're going to lose Saraleth first, and Dark Knight should follow shortly. And with the overkill, they will be able to. I'm just trying to DPS onto whoever they can, but they have the root, they have the damage, and it's going to be a 3-0 in favor of Magnitude Aftershock. They had the first set. Now Void Prison does land on a 3, but doesn't really matter, as actually the Shadow Charge got to get interrupted by it, as RK13 still looking for the play, getting everyone down pretty low, but the damage is too high. Macro Machines not going to be able to win this out. Magnitude Aftershock will get that 4-0. Will be able to get that extra 5 damage from this second ultra. 10 damage total from this set. And now there's only going to be 8 health left on that core for Macro Machines. And that's where things are going to get scary for them. Because one more altar plus boss will be the game. Or could be the game. If Magnitude Aftershock are able to get it. And now Hoku going to get walled off. Going to get poked down a little bit. And I say a little bit, but that's a lot of HP. And now they're proccing the Odin. They're going to use this over here in the mid lane. They're looking for the second bell tower. And now Saralith and Hoku just trying to buy a little bit of time. But it's so difficult. Level 20s are there. Now the extended arm actually going to push them really far back as Hoku starting to get really low. The Shadow Charge will land into the wall as well. And with the Black Hole going to provide a lot of time. Now Wraithling will get set up with the Dragon Arrow, but the cleanse coming, or not even a cleanse, but just being able to be okay with it. And the middle bell tower also going the way of Magnitude Aftershock. Just one more left on the map, and with this Sapper Camp, Captain Roberts should be able to clear it very quickly. But this bot lane bell tower will go back in favor of Macro Machines. But now the team fight, the teleport has already been used by Wraithling. They're looking towards Saralith. They're bringing everything onto this hero. Lightning Breath over top. And Saralith will go down. Amy will get healed up in time. But they're fighting underneath this bell tower. But they're able to get RK13th as well. And Dark Knight, the final survivor, will not survive. And it's 4-0 again for Magnitude Aftershock. And now look for Imerburb, last survivor. And they will be able to get the Sapper Camp to reach. And I believe with this, that's going to be 6 damage. So they just need one more of these sappers to land. But with this bottom bell tower here, may not be doable. However, they will be able to get these points in their favor. They'll be able to take down this altar. And if they just channel this, I believe that will be game. Especially with these little bits of damage going through. Magnitude Aftershock, they started out a little bit weak, but they were able to bring it back. And they're going to be able to win game number 1. All right. I mean, Macro Machines, they started off strong at one point. I believe it was 6-1 in terms of kills. They were up almost a full level, but just one big team fight is all that Magnitude Aftershock needed. And with that, they were able to slowly but surely choke out the game. They were able to take control of the map. They got that bottom bell tower and just kept pushing that lead. Just pushing, and pushing. And they were able to take that game number 1. Now, I do apologize a bit for the scuffed production there. There are some hotkeys that are just so strange. And it's hard to reset them sometimes. Luckily, I did find the button. But for anyone watching this live and for anyone watching this via VOD, I do apologize for that. But either way, gonna go to a short break, and when we come back, it'll be game number 2. So don't go anywhere.
Of the Spider Queen.
Welcome back, everyone. Time for game number 2. And this time we are going to Tomb of the Spider Queen. Now, I'm going to throw out my predictions because I've been so bad with them. I think I've literally missed every single one so far. But we're going to get them out this time. But Tomb of the Spider Queen, going to be a bit of a different map. Because it is definitely smaller. And it is a bit more snowbally, because if you're able to take control of that middle area, it's a lot easier to just to kind of just keep it forever. Because if you have control of those shrines, if you're able to prevent the turn-ins from coming through, it's almost impossible for the other team to retake control of the area. Especially with the boss also being on that big vertical line. And now first man gonna be the Junkrat coming out for Macro Machines. And I think that's not surprising to see. Junkrat able to provide so much pressure on this map. It is a smaller map, and I think that's where Junkrat really shines. Wherever there's not as much area to move around, has more value in terms of setting up traps, especially with all the main objectives just kind of huddled in that middle area. If you're able to close off even one of the angles, it changes the dynamics of the fights so much. But Magnitude Aftershock gonna ban away the Blaze again. And it does look like they're just targeting out that offlaner Hoku for this game. I mean, now there was a substitution. Jimmy Bob Joe gonna be in for Macro Machines. But Maiev once again gonna get banned by Macro Machines. Just trying to prevent that super annoying gameplay that Maiev does bring out. Now, it's a lot of fun to cast, but as a player, I can sympathize why they don't want to deal with it. That Umbral Bind is such a powerful ability. And both Containment Disc and the Warden's Cage just so good in team fights. So, yeah, not surprised to see that getting removed. And now final ban going to be coming out, and it will be the Dahaka again. The Magnitude Aftershock, different maps, same bans. They're feeling confident that if they can just keep them off of those heroes, they'll be able to play well. But now Jim Bob Joe going to lock in the Chromie first. So that will be able to provide quite a bit of pressure. Is able to prevent people from capping onto those shrines, from turning in those gems in general. And obviously lots of damage, lots of control, but Magnitude Aftershock, same start as well. The Tychus for Amy and the Diablo for Wraithling. And that will help them quite a bit with their engage. I mean, we saw how well it worked last game, and it's also going to help with their siege. The Odin coming out from Amy A20 was able to just absolutely shred through those bell towers, and it's going to be the exact same thing for those forts and keeps in this game if they're able to get in a position to really utilize it. But this time, it's not going to be the Stukov, it's going to be the Oriole locked in for Seralith, and the Leoric once again for Hoku. Now, whenever an Oriole is locked in, it does mean that they're going to have quite a bit of AoE healing, but it does also show that you typically want to have a Death Ball composition with it. Because it's AoE and it's a targeted AoE, you want them all to kind of be grouped together. So Death Ball comps naturally work better with the Oriole as the healer. And Magnitude Aftershock going to ban away the Joanna, because when it comes to Death Ball, Joanna is definitely one of the better ones. Able to just walk forward, doesn't need to dive into the back line. Just throws out the shield, walks up with a condemn, and the entire team can follow with it. And now Brightwing going to be the final ban coming out of Macro Machines. Trying to get rid of that global polymorph, trying to get global healing, trying to get rid of that polymorph. Sorry, my mind's just going a million miles a minute right now. I could not even tell you why. But back to Aftershock, they have to show at least most of their team composition here. Last time they did save last pick for Dieth Lama. Maybe they'll do it this time as well. But I'm wondering if they want to even keep the same composition. In theory, they could, but it doesn't seem like they will. It's going to be the Lucio for Dieth Lama and the Sonya for Captain Roberts. But Zeratul going to get locked in again for Arcane 13. So it seems like it isn't just a pick they use for Towers of Doom. It is just a pick they like overall. And I have seen, especially at the start of the season, a lot of B-West teams really like the Zeratul. It's a pretty common pick, at least for some of the teams. I believe Bunker Funtime might be the other team that plays it. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, you're literally in chat, so you definitely could. But last pick, once again, going to be the Muradin for Dark Knight. So they have that front line. They have a lot of HP, but again, the two beefcakes, the Orc and Muradin, they're HP tanks. And Tychus is really good at taking down HP tanks with that minigun. So I won't be too surprised to see that being the talent selection this time around. And now Punk gonna be the final pick for that flex roll. And I'm wondering what it is they're gonna select for it. And it will be the Tassadar once again. So that will provide a lot of that damage from range. It will help clear away those web weavers. And just overall will help provide a lot of that siege damage that Amy's able to provide already. But with a Shock Ray, with a Psionic Storm, they're going to absolutely shred through buildings. But either way, that was draft number 2. And before we head in, thank you to the sponsor of today's stream, Legend of Mushroom. Take a look.
Prepare
All right, and that was Legend of Mushroom. Click the link in the chat or click the panel down below. Download for free today. It's an idle RPG game. Watch numbers go up. And even just installing the game, if you decide not to play it, helps me out a lot as a streamer. So be sure to download it for free now. But now here we are in game number 2 between Macro Machines and Magnitude Aftershock. We are going to be on that Tomb of the Spider Queen. Now both sides definitely seems like they're going to be bringing all 5 members straight into the mid lane. So we're going to have that early brawl in. Once again, it is going to be the Shockwave build, at least starting out. Typically, if you get that level 1, you are going to be holding on to it as Arcane 13th. Gonna be getting shown. The Psionic Storm able to reveal Arcane 13th. As the Ancient Spear from Captain Roberts was very close, but not going to be able to land. Now Wraithling will be able to get this down. They have the Shadow Charge, but with the blink away, going to be safe, and actually almost goes down to the grenade from Amy. That was really close. But now Captain Roberts able to scout out Dark Knight. Dark Knight gets stunned into the wall. They have the overpower as well, and Dark Knight will get... I'm not even sure what happened there. I think that was the sound ball, and that's going to be first blood going over to Magnitude Aftershock. Huge kill onto the main tank. Now Arcane 13th was at least able to push out the top side, but now Hoku getting jumped upon, but it is just Captain Roberts and Diet Llama. Not too much of a threat there, as Diet Llama going to get poked down a little bit by Arcane 13th, but not too much damage going to be able to go the other way. Now Seraph and Arcane 13th going to be pushing out that mid lane, as the top side is getting pushed in by Magnitude Aftershock. And Jimmy Bob Joe and Dark Knight going to let that hit into the cannon towers. Helps provide a little bit of that DPS, helps provide a little bit of that clear. But the gem's still going over safely to both these two teams. But now the Bruiser Camp gets started by Diet Llama and Amy. They've already killed off that anti-major guy, and now they're just going to be finishing off the rest. Now Jimmy Bob Joe and Saralith going to get started on their own Bruiser Camp as well. Just slowly but surely trying to DPS onto this major, but again, it's so difficult when it is that Chromie. And that is kind of an issue with their team composition. Taking these Bruiser Camps, it's always going to be difficult for them, especially these first 1 or 2. While they're still getting their talents, while they're still getting the map opened up overall, it will definitely take them longer than it does for Magnitude Aftershock to take the Bruiser Camps. But either way, both teams going to be able to do it. But now they're looking towards Dark Knight again. They have the overpower into the Psionic Storm, but with the Dwarf Toss, Dark Knight going to be able to just walk away. But with that timing, with that pressure, Magnitude Aftershock, they're going to be able to take the Siege Camp in the bot lane as well. So they're going to have that extra camp, as now Punk getting jumped upon by Arcane 13th, but will blink away before Wraithling gets that Shadow Charge into the wall. But on Magnitude Aftershock, they brought quite a few members up here. And the trading going to be going back and forth as Arcane 13 is going to be able to dash away again to safety. But now they're looking towards Dark Knight, but not going to be using the overpower quite yet. The overkill just going to be used to try and clear the way, but going to get interrupted by the Stormbolt. Wraithling still walking forward and taking quite a bit of damage. The other Tame Strike, and Wraithling just going to get burst down. Macro Machines have more than enough damage to take down this Diablo, just bit by bit poking them down. And with the Bruiser Camp nearby, it's so hard to walk past them. They're pretty thick. Another Tame Strike is going to land. Amy getting slowed down, but Arcane 13th not going to dash in this time. Not going to have a lot of escape behind the wall, so best case scenario trades 1 for 1, but there's also the chance that Amy would not go down at all, so not surprising to see them just back away. Now Hoku will be able to clear away the Siege Camp now, but they still lose one of their cannon towers as Captain Roberts takes quite a bit of damage. Arcane 13th just DPSing pretty heavily. But Wraithling and Amy starting to push away this top side. Jimmy Bob Joe is here to cover, but starting to get a little bit low on mana now. 44 gems already turned in for Macro Machines, and they do have enough for max turn, but Dark Knight getting jumped upon. Containment Strike gonna pull Wraithling away from Dark Knight before the overpower could come through. But not a lot is needed for this as Arcane 13th is gonna be grouping up here. They're trying to get their turn in on the side of Magnitude Aftershock. Containment Strike gonna land, but it's just onto Wraithling, just to be a pain, as I always like to call it. But Macro Machines, they're able to retake the area, but their mid lane's getting pushed in now. Bit of trading over the bot side. Kevin Roberts able to win the trade into Hoku, as the little bit of more fighting could be brewing out on the top side, but neither side able to pull the trigger fully yet. Arcane 13th is pretty low, will be forced to reset. And Magnitude Aftershock, they have enough gems for full turn-in if they're able to get it. But Jimmy Bob Joe gonna interrupt it for now, but Diet Llama was still able to get it. So now it's 6 gems needed for Macro Machines and just 5 from Magnitude Aftershock. So really whoever's going to be able to get onto the point next is going to be the one to get that first set of Web Weavers. And depending on how those Web Weavers go, it can get a lot done for the team. Now Arcane 13th just there to interrupt. Going to be able to get a bit of poke damage onto Amy. Not too much yet. But Captain Roberts is here as well, and they're looking for the fight. They're looking on to Saralith, and that's a big target as Amy able to get the turn in as well. Now Saralith going to be able to back away. Well, that will be the first set of Web Weavers pushing in Magnitude Aftershock. They have the mid-wave shoved in as well, so it should have a pretty good spawn point as well. But Hoku has the push in the bot side, and actually they were able to clear away the mid lane in time, but this top lane is pretty close to the wall. Will get cleared away by Macro Machines, but the Web Weaver will spawn right at that wall. But they can start DPSing on it immediately at least. It is in a position that they can start clearing, but Wraithling looking for the Shadow Charge forward. They have the Overpower as well, but with the Dwarf Toss, going to be able to back away to safety. And with that, that should be the last little bit of this Web Weaver down as the Shocker is doing so much damage. Dark Knight actually gets taken down pretty low, but has the trade. As Arcane 13th at 100 HP, trading with Amy, but the mid lane wall is already gone, and this Web Weaver going to get started on this fort as well. And even just taking down the walls does help a lot with the pressure, but they're looking. They're going to find Saralith, and that's going to be the first kill, but they're looking for Jim Bob Joe as well. The slowing sands buying quite a bit of time. Wraithing getting healed up, and Diet Llama able to provide the enough healing that they're both going to survive as Jim Bob Joe and Dark Knight both low. Arcane 13th in the back line, going to get stunned into the wall, and that's going to be another kill going the way of Magnitude Aftershock as Punk will finish up the mid lane fort. And what I was going to say is even just taking down the wall is already pretty big, because when those waves bounce back and forth, they're able to bounce even further into the side of Macro Machines. But now they got the entire fort, not only is that part even more true than it was, but they're also going to be able to get even more value with those pushes. They're going to have that passive push happening in the mid lane. But now the blue Web Weaver is going to be coming out. Both sides level 10, so at least no HP advantage, but the Apocalypse coming through right now. Arcane 13th is in the backline. Stormbolt lands onto 2, and with the Haymaker, Amy's on the wrong side of the team, but trying to back away. Diet Llama with a high 5, going to be able to keep Amy alive. So the engage has come through, but neither side going to be able to take anyone down. But that could be a good move for Macro Machines, because as long as the team is focused in one area or potentially focused into a fight, they're not clearing out the Web Weavers. But there is a Bruiser Camp in the mid lane. There is Captain Roberts in the bot lane. So right now it looks like these Web Weavers just going to be used to help even out pressure on the map rather than apply pressure on the map for Macro Machines. But they're looking to clear it out. Arcane 13th currently blocked as they're looking to the back line. They have the Overpower, and the Black Hole going to split up the fight. But Dark Knight still in a good spot. They have the stun onto Diet Llama. Entomb not going to land onto anyone, unfortunately, as I do think that was a bit of a misclick. I don't think that was intended, because Hoku was facing a very different way. But now Captain Roberts with the leap into the background. They have the Crystal Aegis, though, and the high 5. But Captain Roberts starting at pretty low. Arcane 13th diving onto Diet Llama, but with the Overpower, not going to be able to finish it off. Diet Llama actually going to get the last hit there. And Punk, with those Shockwaves, going to be able to deal a lot of damage towards the rest of the backline. But Macro Machines, they're at least able to finish off this wall, but the pendulum, it swingeth. They're going to be able to get another turn-in and another set of Web Weavers going to be coming out this time from Magnitude Aftershock. Or so I thought, but Captain Roberts not going to be able to get the turn-in. Diet Llama only has 2, so Captain Roberts does need to get it. So Hoku can buy a little bit of time, can buy a little bit of space. And that will allow their team to try and get the waves in a better area. That's going to allow them to finish off this Bruiser Camp as well. But Hoku could be in a bad spot. Shocker dealing quite a bit of damage with a Black Hole. More than enough damage to take down Hoku. And either way, Wraithling or whoever, Amy, were able to turn in the next set of gems. And now it's coming through as now the leap is going to land into the backline. Dark Knight going to get popped. And now it's 2 members gone right now from Macro Machines as the Web Weavers are spawning. Now Wraithing trading a little bit with Arcane 13th, but this air tool will scale super well, but not going to be able to take down the Diablo. Definitely not from full HP. But now Hoku has been able to respawn, just trading a little bit with Captain Roberts as the Web Weavers already pushing into this bot lane. Now the mid lane Web Weaver should be in a good spot, but the top lane, that's where the pressure is going to be coming through. That's where the fort and the wall is still available. Odin going to get popped by Amy. And I was saying this during the draft, their push is insane. Between Odin, between Punk, they have so much damage available to them. But right now they're able to defend onto it as the blink just in time from Arcane 13, because otherwise that would have been a pretty massive stun going through into the wall, and likely Arcane 13 would have gone down. Now the Dragon's Breath just dealing damage to the backline. Odin has expired, but still so much damage coming out from these Web Weavers. And they should be able to finish off this top lane fort. Bottom lane fort going to go down for Captain Roberts as well. I was talking about that mid lane line and Magnitude Aftershock. They have crossed that vertical line. They're going to be in a good spot now. Arcane 13th on the wrong side of the map, but as Zeratul should be able to back away. A little bit of slow and will be able to reveal them. Amy looking towards Arcane 13th. They're still chasing the grenade. Will buy a bit of space in the lead from Captain Roberts. They will be able to get that pick off. And now they can try turning in the gems. At least Captain Roberts should, just because they're sitting on 28. But they're not going to be able to get the next set of Web Weavers yet. They will need to take some time, collect some gems, but they're in a really good spot right now. They have control of most of the map. They have control of all 3 lanes. Siege Camp as well in favor of Magnitude Aftershock, and Macro Machines will be able to scale. And if Arcane 13th later on, I believe, especially after that level 16 talent, if they're able to get a pick off on one of the backliners, especially on a Diet Llama, they could win out future team fights. But it'll be hard to even get those engages happening as they're looking onto Amy. And now Stormbolt not going to land, and Amy just going to be able to walk away. Hoku looking for the play as well, but Captain Roberts is here, and so is the rest of Magnitude Aftershock. Apocalypse going to be coming through, not going to land onto anyone. Slowing stance in the meanwhile. They have the stun, but it is on to Wraithing. They have to Tamen Strike and the Entomb, but the Black Hole buying a lot of space. Hoku's the one that sucked, but Punk getting jumped upon by Arcane 13th, and the Sandblast not going to land. Punk able to back away as the Void Prison lands onto 3, and now Punk gets stunned up, gets finished off. And Wraithling soon to follow. Couple more hits, and that's all that's needed to Tamen Strike. Actually getting that last hit. But again, same issue. They don't have enough gems for turning. They have a wave pushing into their boss side. What they could look towards, though, in theory, is that boss, but the respawn times are too short. The souls were there for Wraithling, so it's just not something that's possible for them to do. As now Dark Knight going to prevent Amy from turning in those gems. And Dark Knight could even look to start a new fight. As Jimmy Bob Joe going to get turned in as well. Now Hoku going to come back to the bot lane, but already lost a good chunk of that wall. But at least they were able to win the team fight. They were able to push themselves closer in terms of experience. They're going to hit that level 16 talent soon. And this is where things could get fun. And I did call that Void Prison, but it's Azerto doesn't even have Void Prison. But the leap onto the back line will be able to find one. They have the stasis, but Jimmy Bob Joe just going to delay it. Still going to go down. Now Dark Knight should be able to follow. And it's a 2-for-0 for Magnitude Aftershock, as I don't even know what this thing does. Untalented version dealing 50% less damage. Okay, so it is that combo ability. Just trying to get that one hit onto the back line. But Bruiser Camp going to get stolen by Magnitude Aftershock, and they were able to kill it so quickly, too. And now they should have a pretty solid push here. They don't need to wait for the wave. They have the Bruiser Camp. But the blue Web Weavers, however, will spawn. So Macro Machines could try and get something back. And this will buy a little bit of time, but emphasis on little. Look how fast they take down this Web Weaver. And now they're aiming towards the keep. Hoku is here. Will use the Wraithwalk to get back to safety, but it does look like this mid lane keep going to be in a bad spot. Captain Roberts stuck within the Entomb, but there's just no follow-up ready for it. As now the Dragon's Breath just going to be used for a little bit of poke in the backline. Now they will be able to save the keep, but Dark Knight looking forward, finds Wraithling. Maybe not the target they want. High five from Dive Llama, going to be able to cleanse away that stun. But now at the very least, this Web Weaver able to get a really good value and should be able to finish off this top lane fort. So it's at least going to be a wave finally evened out for Macro Machines. It'll help provide a little bit of pressure on the map. Now the bot lane Web Weaver also getting a decent chunk of damage to the wall. We'll be able to finish that wall off entirely, actually. But that's all they're able to get. Just that one fort and a bit of damage in mid. The rest is going to get cleared away. But their keep got hit pretty hard. They were able to keep it alive as Arcane 13th. Just trying to hide in a position. Could potentially look to burst someone down if they do walk forward this way. But the turn-in's going to be happening not in the top side. Arcane 13th watching the bot side, so it's not going to come in through there either. But the siege camp will get taken once again by Magnitude Aftershock. Now, they are in an even talent here, so this could be an opportunity for Macro Machines to try and look for a fight. So Arcane 13th just looking for that pickoff. And this could be the moment, but not pulling the trigger yet. We'll jump onto Punk, get the spin, just try to interrupt the plays for now, but not going to be able to burst anyone down, just going to be able to get in the way. Stormbolt lands as well as Diet Llama will get the final bit for the turn. And now Kevin Roberts looking aggressively with that Ancient Spear, but not going to be able to land it. But right now, they already have the wave in the bot side with the siege camp. They're going to be able to push the wave in the mid lane as Kevin Roberts tries to predict the leap, but not going to be able to find it. But that is actually going to be a pretty major cooldown not available for this next team fight. The Magnitude Aftershock, they will start pushing out in this top side. It looks like they're pretty confident that they can walk up mid whenever. But Arcane 13th deals a lot of damage to these right now. But Wraithing looking forward, finding Jimmy Bob Joe. As the team fight could start erupting. Dark Knight could be in a bad spot as well, but will be able to just back away. And with the Dragon's Breath, they will be able to clear out that Web Weaver, at least in the mid lane. But Odin is still there. Wraithing willing to tank it up a little bit and doesn't even have to. Now Dark Knight will get the stun onto Amy. Arcane 13th still trying to cause havoc in the backline, just trying to get in the way as much as possible. And now no big red button yet, so level 20 is not up right now for Magnitude Aftershock. They are very close though. Now the bottom Web Weaver will get cleared away as well. Hoku is here. Dark Knight could be looking forward as the team fight might start brewing. They have the Entomb onto Punk and Amy, but they have the leap. Crystal Age excuse though, and Dark Knight's still alive. They have the stun onto the backline, but they're not able to get the damage. But Punk, 140 HP, all that's needed. It's a 2-for-0 so far. And while Magnitude Aftershock weren't able to take the mid keep off the push, they should be able to take it now with 3 members dead. But Punk getting jumped, and Arcane 13th got to be able to get the pick off. Now the top lane keep did go down from the Web Weaver. It's from the cannon. And now they're able to get the mid lane. And Wraithing almost gets finished off with that Dragon's Breath. But the last final tick not going to be able to land. And I mean, trading at least 1 kill back in the end, definitely helping out a lot. But I mean, Magnitude Aftershock, they've really taken control of this map. And that is just the state of Tomb of the Spider Queen. If you're able to get that early lead, and you're able to get in a commanding fashion like Magnitude Aftershock have gotten, it's really difficult to lose that lead again. But as we head into the late game, once both teams have those level 20s, things will get a little bit different because the death timers become very long. And I think that's what Macro Machines need to rely on. Just trying to get to make sure the waves are consistently cleared out, and just trying to get one good team fight when the reset timers just take forever. And then they could potentially get a boss, and they could potentially start pushing in with that. But I mean, there's a lot of things that need to go right for them now in order to be able to come back into this game. Now, at the very least, they did get level 20, so the first thing has already happened. Now, they're going to be able to take their Bruiser Camp as well. Siege Camp is still permanently Magnitude Aftershocks. They will have that in their hands. But the other part, Macro Machines have enough gems for turn-in now, so if they're able to get those going, could be in a good spot. Arcane 13th going to be able to spot out the side of Magnitude Aftershock. But because of that, the turn-ins should be available. And actually, Macro Machines will be able to get this next set of Web Weavers if they're able to get the last few. Arcane 13th needs to get the channel, and the Web Weavers will be spawning. So we'll be able to lower the amount of pressure on these waves as Dark Knight looking for the engage, able to land it onto Diet Llama, but no more follow-up. Black Hole going to buy a little bit of time. But Diet Llama is still getting jumped on by Arcane 13th, but with the leap with the crater, it's going to be Arcane 13th that goes down. But now they still have the Bruiser Camp. They could still look to get a little bit of damage over onto these structures. As Dark Knight jumping forward. Not going to be able to find anyone, but Hoku going to back away with that Wraith Walk. So a little bit of damage will land. I believe it's just going to be this one little burst, and that'll be it for the mid lane. And I think that's going to be it for the value of these Web Weavers. At the very least, they will be able to retake their top and bottom. And the other part of it is Arcane 13th could go for that play. And if it failed, they don't lose too much. Or though, as I say that, Magnitude Aftershock, they're already positioning pretty aggressively in the bot side. They're going to be able to clear away this bottom Web Weaver very quickly. And now they're just pushing forward with it. And Macro Machines, they need to get back. Otherwise, they're going to lose their final keep. And there's not too much time for them to get back there. Odin going to get popped immediately. And with the shock raise, 155 stacks, by the way. Going to be really powerful. As now the teamfight could be coming in. The Entomb not going to land again. But Wraithling is able to get the stun. And now the leap. They're able to take Hoku and Dark Knight caught. But it's going to be Captain Roberts that's the first to go. The burst damage is way too strong. And Leoric is going to go down. Hoku will be the first to follow. But now they were still able to defend. And Arcane 13 just DPS going to the backline. Diet Llama starting to get a little bit low. But with the healing, with the high fives, going to be okay. Now the big red button deal quite a bit of damage to this fort. Or to this keep, I should say, but not going to be able to take it down as Arcane 13th looking forward for the play, but not going to be able to find it quite yet. There's a little bit of a push in the top, so they will get a little bit of damage, but not too much building up there, and these waves should now be pushing back. And Arcane 13th still looking for the backline. Dark Knight looking for Punk, but is going to get stunned up instead. Arcane 13th looking for Punk. It needs a bit more damage, but it's not going to be there. And now they're jumping onto Dark Knight instead. The numbers, the advantage is there for Magnitude Aftershock. Hoku gonna be respawning now, but with Punk's HP, they're just gonna reset, and with the waves pushing in the way they are, Macro Machines needs to reset and figure out their waves first. But they prevented Magnitude from getting any more turn-ins. They've been in a really good spot overall on the map in terms of wave control, and I think that's really keeping them in this solidified lead. Macro Machines, they can defend, they can fight back, but when everything's said and done, they're still the ones that took damage on their keep, and now they very well may lose this boss, and it looks like they're not even going to be here to contest it, so this could be an angle for Magnitude Aftershock to end the game on. If they group up with this boss, they don't even need a big team fight, they just need to not lose this team fight. But now the entire side of Macro Machines, they're already here, they have the stun, but the Crystal Aegis gonna keep Dark Knight alive. Black Hole gonna be there to prevent the follow, but the Entomb not gonna be found. Dark Knight is on the back end. They have the Unsolved, but they have the Cleanse. But the team fight still not really coming through. Hoku starting to burst down pretty heavily. As Arcane 13th coming in from the side is gonna find Amy, but not jumping into anyone yet. Onto Amy now. Couple more autos, needs to get one more burst in, and not able to find it. Amy able to sidestep it as the overpower gonna come out just in time, but the boss is already on the point, already on the core. But they have at least been able to keep them off for now. But now they're walking forward. Diet Llama looking for the play and the leap. They're going to be able to find Seralith, and that's the main target. But Captain Roberts going to be the first to fall. Seralith needs to heal the team, and Dark Knight will be alive as well. Same with Arcane 13, sitting alive at 500 HP. And now the boss will get cleared away, but Arcane 13 does get found by Diet Llama. So it's 4 for 4 on the map. But Dark Knight looking for it. They have the Entomb onto 2. They have the stun onto Amy, but no damage to follow up. Seralith with the Crystal Aegis going to be alive for now. Black Hole, though, will be able to find them. And now Wraithling versus Jimmy Bob Joe. And Jimmy Bob Joe has no mana, is the final survivor. As Wraithling waiting for the cooldowns, not even needed. Amy is there, though. Big red buttons will be found. And after a long defense, Magnitude Aftershock, they're still able to push in and get the domination. I mean, credit where credit's due. Macro Machines, they held on for a very long time, but this is one of those maps. It's so hard to get back in. It is so hard to take control of this map once you lose it. But well played by Magnitude Aftershock. They got the lead. They were able to hold on to it. And with that, they're going to get the domination and the 4 points. Now I'm going to see if I can find an interview with someone. So give me one moment as I do get that set up. As I believe I'm getting DM'd about that as well. Oh no, friend request. JK. Different.
Ba-doom.
Hello,
Hey,
hello.
yo.
What's up?
What's up?
Now, for everyone in chat, I am joined here by Punk and Amy A20. Well, first of all, congratulations on that 2-0 domination. How does it feel?
Pretty good. Very, very good.
Yeah, I feel great.
Now, for both of those games, like game 2 was more or less under your control from start to finish, but that game 1, Macro Machines, they had a pretty solid early lead. They managed to take quite a bit more altars. but you were able to bring it back. So what exactly was it that you think allowed you back into the game and eventually led to you being able to win that Towers of Doom map?
Well, that one, I think, early game we didn't have our like survivability talents because we couldn't quite deal with the Zeratul, we couldn't quite deal with the Stukov silences, and we couldn't like dive and survive. So later in the game, I feel like we were able to survive our dives, and we ended up diving pretty well onto the Stukov once we were able to,
hmm
and trade
And we were
extremely
just
well.
sorry. And we were able to have good comms with each other too. Like we communicated when we were all going in and where we wanted to dive and who we wanted to target. So
Yeah, I mean
that's
that
good too.
that combo
Sorry.
was definitely seen in both the first game and the second game, especially even just with the combo of the Force Wall with a Shadow Charge coming out with that Tassadar Diablo stun. And I gotta say, y'all played it really well.
Yeah, I
Thank you.
goofed a couple of them. I pushed some people out when I tried to keep them in, but it worked out.
Now talk
Yeah.
now talk to me about that second game. Now, Tomb of the Spider Queen's definitely more of a snowballing map, but it was hard to break into that defense. There was a lot of attempts, but Macro Machines were able to keep you out. How was that from the mental point of the game?
Well, I mean, I think, like, sorry, my brain. So all we did was like, just try to. So we kept tabs of where enemies were, and we just focused on like, okay, get this bruiser, then get siege, and just try to play around with like where they're positioned and stuff, and if we have turn, and just call out stuff like that. I don't know if that answered your question, but
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I mean, it's an interview. You can basically say whatever you want, right? I'm just there to get the conversation started.
yeah.
But with this win, it does. You're still in sixth place, but you definitely close that gap a bit. And I mean, I'm sure as you know, Division B West is super, super close right now. With you being in sixth place, that final playoff spot, and I believe with this win, Macro Machines is guaranteed out. I'm pretty sure mathematically they were almost out, but now they're definitely out. And it's 23 points for first place, and you're in sixth place at 18. So every single position is still available. Now, is there any spot you want to try and go for, or is it just you're in the playoffs and gonna wait till the playoffs to really bring everything out?
Number one, number one, number one. I don't know what we can get if we dominate the rest, but we had an unfortunate start of season. But I think it's turning it around big time.
Heck yeah.
We got our gamer face on, so we're gonna get as high as we can pre playoffs. See what happens.
Yeah, I believe there are 14 matches total, so you still have 5 left. I may be wrong.
Yep.
So that could be a max of 20 points. I mean, actually when I say that, Macro Machines in theory could still come back into the playoffs, but very unlikely. Sitting at 2 points compared to the next spot, you guys at 18. But first place is definitely available, and those top 2 spots do get a bye in the first round of playoffs. Now, is that something that you want to get for your team, or do you just want to play?
Oh, we want to play, but we also want to win. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
All right. And then my final question, I always ask everyone this. Are there any shout outs you'd like to give? Is there anything you'd like to say to your fans out there?
Well, shouts to my fam that may be watching this later. And to any friends or so that may be watching as well. Hi.
Yeah, and thanks for picking us up, Tokibi. I realize
Yeah.
it was tight from the cast before, so I'm glad you were able to.
Yeah, me too. I mean, that series ended up being a very quick. Our game 1 was 9 minutes, so that definitely helped out quite a bit.
That helped for sure.
But no, I'm glad I managed to pick this up. I'm glad I had a lot of fun watching this series. So thanks for the entertaining game, and thanks for coming to this interview. And once again, congratulations on your domination.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Yeah. And
Hope
you
you have a good
night.
rest of your night. Yeah.
And with that, that will be it for today. Now, tomorrow, I believe, is Wednesday. Okay. So tomorrow, I did pick up a cast, but I'm only going to be doing one cast. It's not going to be the usual double. That's because on Wednesdays, I now cast for Blue Otter League, League of Legends, the Platinum League. So if you want to check that out, Blue Otter League on Twitch. But once that's done, I will have time to pick up actually another B West game between Bunker Funtime and Clouded Minds. So that's going to be a pretty fun one. A lot of repercussions on that leaderboard going to be coming from that game. So be sure not to miss it. 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. But thank you all for watching today and have a good night. I'll see you all tomorrow.